Preparing to live stream.
All right.
So I don't know if we're here yet. So
I've got a notification saying that our meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Excellent. I am going over to do the muting.
Yeah.
And welcome everybody. I will now pretend like we're doing this officially. It is started. This is April 2nd. This is the informal show and tell version of our audio podcast, where we go into more detail, talk a little bit more maybe about why we're choosing things, or we talk about board games and movies and books there, but this is just the show and tell, and it's also just the show and tell for things that we remember to grab.
It's true. Yeah, a little less planned than our audio podcast.
Yeah. It's our hangout. We get to make the rules. We hope that people are showing up in chat. They can see us and hear us. That's great. Katie, do you want to say anything else while I quickly grab something I just remembered over from that corner there?
People are saying that they can see and hear us, so that's wonderful. Thank you for joining us. The few folks that I can see already. Just gonna see if I can change the ratio of chat. The blurred backgrounds always look so funny, hey?
Yeah, my office is kind of a mess, so we want it.
Fair enough.
All right. Welcome everyone who's showing up in chat. If you are watching this later, we're welcoming you as well. We just can't be as directly friendly to you. So we're going to start with works in progress.
Well, actually, Sarah, why don't we start with the tea? What tea are you drinking?
Good point. I am drinking Earl Grey. No, I'm drinking orange pico with the very last crumbs, the very last leaves and fidgety bits of my dark chocolate orange pu'er tea from David's Tea. So this is my very last eking the flavor out kind of method.
I ordered a bunch more, so I still have it for a while yet. It is not what I'm drinking today, although I am drinking something else from David's Tea. I brought it with me. I am drinking sweet potato pie, black tea. It is so good. The second ingredient is pecans.
Huh. So is it kind of like pumpkin pie, like spices?
Yeah, there is cinnamon, butternut squash, sweet potato, marshmallows, ginger, nutmeg, allspice.
Okay. So kind of a nuttier.
Yeah, version? It's reminiscent, but it's not like, I don't think that it's just a pumpkin spice redux, you know, like it's got its own flavors.
We should also mention, before we talk just tea and then jump into knitting, we should talk about some things we're wearing, because we have two things that are both knitting, and you're wearing something knitting adjacent.
Oh, yes. Okay, so I'll go first. So if you listen to the audio podcast, I don't remember if I've worn them on any of our lives, but I won some beaded earrings from Beaded Souk, S-O-O-K, and these were done to match the Paradise Alpha yarn, which we have talked ad nauseum about. And honestly, if you don't have this yarn in your life, Mudpunch is having a sale today. Go.
Mostly sold out. There are a couple, no, for real. I actually just checked, because there's one of the ones that I most want is Goth Rainbow, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to order. And then when I saw it on Instagram, I'm not gonna do it this week. And then I thought, I saw it again in my emails as like, first come first serve for newsletter subscribers. And I was like, but what if it's a sign? If it's still there? It was not there. It's Goth Rainbow. It's amazing. Of course it's not there. So.
Okay, so then go find Mudpunch's yarn later. But this is Paradise Alpha. It is more vibrant in person than it ever shows up in any camera, whether it's video or, on our Instagrams. But then, so these earrings were done to match them. It's a little hard to see, but there is purple in here as well. And so I thought, since I have a new short haircut, all of a sudden all of my longer earrings are just like They can come out to
Funny,
play in a
I
different
love
way.
wearing long earrings with long hair. I feel like if you're not wearing a big earring, you're just getting lost if you've got long hair.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wore these when I had my hair longer too, but they're just a little bit more on display now. And somebody has joined us, Louise, from New Zealand. We're at 6 a.m. Welcome to Sunday for you, Louise.
That's true. And I did want to say, much of her yarn is sold out, including Paradise Alpha, but there were some colorways still. So if you're watching this live, I authorize you to open a second window should you need to, or use your phone, whatever.
Whichever.
And so my knitting adjacent thing is this sweater, which is September Morn by Thea Coleman. And it is I feel like it's a worsted weight sweater. It is really simple. Like it's a top-down raglan with a little bit of a detail under the arm that carries from here, and then just a big, long, ribbed sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you switch right at the very end to a knit through the back loop. So it's like a half twisted rib. You don't do the same to the pearls, but so it's got that just so that you have a little bit more control over, because it's already all ribbing, and so you want that cuff to be a little different. But it's really long, so it's like it's got like luscious like Instagram, oh here's my tea doing that thing kind of vibes, but it also folds back really nicely and behaves. So I
need
use
to make that one. I love the whole aesthetic of it, and that big luscious neckline. And folks, there is still snow outside here. It is not snowing today. I believe we're in the plus single digits, but it's still cool here.
Yeah. And I use KnitPicks Bear, so it's their Swish Superwash undyed. So I think it's a little cheaper than their dyed versions, and I just happen to have it on hand, and I really wanted a pale yarn so that the simplicity of it could really show up. It does, one thing that's nice is it has details in it. I wonder if I'm wearing this, like, nice. Am I wearing this inside out? No, I'm not. But because you want the collar to go a little more towards the front.
Yeah.
Maybe I am wearing it backwards. No, I'm wearing it backwards. Yeah, that's what's going on. It's funny, I put it on this morning and I was like running out the door, and this is the back. I can tell by that, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, you increase a little bit so that it's a little wider, so that it wants to push towards the front. So I will.
There you go. Looks like somebody else wanted to get Goth Rainbow and missed out too.
Yeah, that is definitely the number one colorway that I've always seen and been like, that's the one I'm going to get. And I don't know if it's just always been out of stock. And then I accidentally chose the Paradise Alpha, and then fell in love with it, or exactly how that happened, but it's been Goth Rainbow that's been my like unrequited Mudpunch love.
Yep. So yeah, take a sip of tea, because if we're going to talk FOs, it's kind of all you. I haven't finished anything in a while.
So I will start with a pair of socks I finished. So these are a little floppy because he wore them all week, he says. So these I pulled them out of the laundry, and this is a medium sock blocker, so they're just flopsy dopsy. But here, let's see if I can get this. This is a color that the camera also does not like to handle. Well, if we're gonna do this, I might as well straighten up. All right, so it is Dye for You from Winnipeg here, and it is a self-striping yarn called Hearth. It is an extraordinary, wonderful set of rusty colors fading into burgundy, like a really dark, deep color. And then I'm going to call it charcoal. In some lights, it looks a little navy, but I'm going to say it's charcoal. And then it's got this one variegated, it's not a speckle because it's not particulate enough. I just love it. I would like to knit a sweater striped like this, but I would also like to knit a sweater pretty much in each of these stripes.
Yeah, I agree. It's really beautiful. I always want more of it.
So I gave those to Matthias. And so that's the he, and the he has been wearing them. And then it's like all gnomes for a little while. So I'm gonna start with my official my official gnome for this month. So I'm knitting them in publication order, and that this month it was gnome pun intended, which is the gnome I knit to knock off the Sorting Hat, basically. And I knit a couple of these, and then like moved on and kept doing other things in my life. Like I have this one, for instance, and it looks really great. This is also Dye for You.
That's a great color.
Yeah, and so this was one of the very original ones, and makes me really happy. But I haven't knit this in a really long time, and every now and then it's one of the ones that when people talk about working on, they complain a little bit about how fiddly the process of making the scrunchy bits are. And so I let this get into my head, and so it was like time to cast on beginning of the month. I was like, oh, but my brain is so short, my time is so short. I'm gonna get like 4 rounds of ribbing, and then I'm gonna have to do the welts, and it's gonna be the intimidating time. And I just it's plain knitting for like 7 rounds, and then 1 round where you don't even do it to every stitch. You just do the thing, and then it's more plain knitting, and then again, like half the stitches you do the thing. And it's so funny how often in knitting we get in our own way, mentally, like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I am using Miss Babs all year for these official gnomes, where I'm doing one of each pattern, and I went with both grays for this one, and then the almost white, I think it's called, let me look, I've got it all here, white peppercorn. So I left out the red from my grouping because last month I went all red, so it just seemed fair. Yeah, so it was really good, and it's definitely one that you want to stuff a lot with weighted stuffing, like here down kind of weighted.
It's all weighted?
Yeah.
Because the hat's so high and tippy?
The hat's high and tippy, and you want that counterbalance, right? So, and the other thing that's silly is in the pattern, I talk about how if you knit the beard and then get it wet, and then fringe it after it's dry, and drop these fringe down, that you will get kind of like a squiggly curly beard. It's amazing. It looks like ramen noodles fresh from the package. It's all just like tick, tick, tick. And then I got so excited to be so close to being finished that I forgot I was going to do that, because I have never done. I know it works. Hundreds of knitters have done it. I tell people it's possible. No.
Yeah.
So, but I just got excited.
Esme Cat's got a comment in here about very much getting in their own way. And if you listen to the audio podcast recently, I was talking about that with sleeves, which we will talk about when we get to our works in progress. I get in my own way all the time. I'm getting in my own way about painting my bathroom where I got the vanity replaced, which is the thing that I'm going to do as long as the paint matches. That's the thing. That's where I'm getting in my own way, is I've got paint left over from the people who owned this place before. And I think I've got the right tin, and I hope that it matches and that it hasn't faded on the walls. But there's all of that what if that I just haven't even bothered to open it yet. I'm going to do it.
You are. Yes. And the thing is even if it has faded, you only need to repaint one wall, because the light hits every wall differently. And so as long as you go to the edges, you don't have to repaint everything. You're like, every wall in a room reads a little differently. So don't freak out.
Thank you for that, because I was thinking if it doesn't work, that I would have to redo all of it. But
no.
Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, if you're
go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say something else, but go. You were gonna read from chat, I think.
Yeah, somebody else in the chat has said that you're so right about waiting, that theirs is like a weevil.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think in that one it's like stuff the head and then stuff the whole body with weighted stuffing. If you read the pattern, like it's that much. Now I did a little bit of weighted, but yeah, wait, the whole thing. And then it also has this I love it when they're a little extra stuffed with weighted, is the way they sit in the hand when you do lift them up. It's like, it's got that weighted blanket cuddliness, It's
yeah. So this is super along the same line. Back when I used to still be able to go to yoga, one time there was a guest instructor who came in and did the class. And at one point when we were doing Shavasana, came around and put weighted pillows on our hands. And they were just about the size of our hand. It was just enough to keep your hand
open. It was a beanbag. It was a fancy, expensive yoga beanbag.
Yeah. Just enough to keep my hand open, but relaxed. It really deepened how relaxed my whole body got just by having that on my hands. So yeah, I get it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then last weekend I taught a class at River City Yarns in Edmonton, and I wanted to double check something. It was the first time I would have taught the class electronically, and I'm going to teach the class differently electronically than in person, partly because in person I spend a fair amount of my class time going around and checking with each person and checking in with them. So it's more like a cooking show where you have something and you oh, now I'm chopping the onions. And then all of a sudden you pull it out and it's and step 3 is, and then step 4 already in the oven is what it looks like finished. So I knew how to do it live, but I didn't know how to do it online. And so I knit a gnome to check how long it takes me to knit the pattern, because I was hoping that my memory was right, because it would only takes me 2 hours or less. Then I figured an hour of talking in demo time would be reasonable. So I knit this version of Gnoah from No Fun Like Gnome Fun.
Look at that.
Magnificent.
I love it.
Okay, so people always ask. So this yarn is Katya Bonbon. And when I go into yarn stores, I legitimately go and look around for beard yarns. I have 3 that I like to use, but I'm running low on this, and I am 100% out of white worsted weight yarn. And I'm teaching another class this weekend. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Anyways.
Oh gosh.
Very
much so.
So this is my trial Noah. And then of course when you knit, I wasn't sure, and so I did have the gnome prepared. I've got in my class notes for teaching live, I've got these are the things I need to have prepped and the stages I need to have them prepped to. And so I did that. And so at the end of class, of course, then I had all those bits. So I finished that gnome after class. Noah again, but without arms, which means because I needed to knit a spare arm, I needed to have one already done. I have at least 1, if not 2 arms, as well as some spare beards that are in my notions case. I just have random parts. If I go to pull out my needle to sew something up, or my scissors or whatever, sometimes I pull out a body part. It's
so what you're saying is you've got the perfect setup for a gnome graveyard Halloween theme picture. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Except I can't figure out what their skeleton would be like. That creeps me out.
Oh, all right.
And then there's the one I actually knit in class, which I had to shorten up the body a little bit because I did talk a lot and demo a lot. So I did shorten. So it's a bit stubby. The beard is definitely, you'll see it curls because otherwise you can't.
A little bit longer than the body. That's great.
Which is great. And I'm going to teach again at Madison next weekend. So I'm going to have at least 2 more gnomes coming soon. I have so many little Gnoahs, and I love that every time I teach the class, I get a minimum of 2 gnomes out of it. That's just so good, right?
Yeah.
And then this week, I also did 2 Zoom calls with Patreons, and I needed something to knit. And in the first one, I just started knitting this. I just started here and kept going and basically improvised a gnome. So I called it my doodle gnome because I basically doodled it. And one thing I really like is this is one of the other beard yarns I really like to use. This is Woolfolk Flet, I think it's called Flette. And it is a zigzag yarn. So it's one fluffy strand wrapped around with thread. So when you look at it out of the skein, it literally looks like rickrack.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And so when it knits up very soft and very light and fluffy, but it also just has this extra little bit of texture to it. So this is garter here that's been knit side to side. So like,
yeah, it's really lovely.
Like that. So that was 5 gnomes finished in a week.
Awesome.
Like my dream life.
Yeah.
And the reason I had that, this was a little bit of leftovers I had just sort of sitting around, was because I used it for my trees.
Love them.
Which I did not finish recently, but have not shown because they were secret because they're a new design.
Yeah.
So it's KNitPicks Chroma in a color they unfortunately don't make anymore. So this is New Leaf if you want to find it in the D-stash. And then I also did it in fingering weight. And they don't actually curve. I've been lifting them up all week to show people and to do things. And this is yarn that we used.
It's KNitPicks Stroll Tweed.
Yes.
We used it for the year of sock heads, but we didn't do a sock out of the hat out of the green.
Right. We had a few balls extra that we didn't need in order to give everybody a hat. So yeah, I'm just really pleased with how this came out. And if you're watching live, it's currently on special. There's a code. It's in the Instagram. It's actually on the pattern page itself. So if you want the code, it's like right there. It's easy to see. Good till the end of Sunday. And you're looking for the We Evergreens pattern.
I love that pattern.
Mm-hmm. So those are my FOs. And I'm going to take a drink of tea now so that you can talk about something like your work in progress.
So the thing that I'm knitting while we talk right now is a sock from my self-knitting sock drawer. So this is, I've been working on it, so I'm trying to get it into the right shape now. This is Empress from FireWeed Fibre Company. This is part of the Star Trek 3-month club that happened earlier this year. So the red, I'm going to do the red also at the toe. And this is sock 1. And what I really like about this one is it's like a speckled self-striping.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's amazing how it's not a self-striping that's self-striping, or maybe it is a self-striping.
I'm not sure if this is intentional. I have no idea. That's kind of the fun thing, because it just looks like this in the ball. So yeah, it's really great. It's fun. This is still sock 1. For this one, I did the German twisted cast on, so it's nice and really stretchy, but still really snugs back in. And then I think this is maybe 20 rounds of ribbing on 9-inch circular needles, which are the best for self-knitting. Yeah.
And you're saying the word stealth, because I keep hearing self. So you were like, this is yarn for my self-socking drawer, or my self-knitting socking drawer or something. And I was like,
stealth. Stealth. Yeah, because I can knit it during Zoom meetings and people can't see. So thank you, Judy. Yeah, so this is one of my whips. Should I go on to my next, or do you want to?
How about we go back and forth?
Yeah.
All right, I am currently knitting a sock as well. It is a really great set of colors from my recent decision to buy every skein of the self-striping Felici that came out recently. Now, I didn't keep them all, but I did buy them all. So I gave a couple to a friend and to Sandra, but this one I knew I wanted to keep. It's called Rustic Cabin, and it's a little subtle here, but I think it pops maybe here a bit better, this blue. So it's kind of like the perfect arcade, like vintage arcade.
Yeah,
like it looks a little, yeah, it's just got a little bit of a throwback, like 1983 kind of feel for me. And they call it Rustic Cabin, and I just really like it. So I started that for myself because I needed, like, I needed to have yarn, like I need to have 2 pairs of socks on the go, basically, so that I always have one in a place where it's mindless knitting. Because the other thing I was knitting, everything else was at a stop and think kind of stage.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to cast on more defensively again. I've gotten out of the habit of finish a sock, start a sock. I had gone, well, but I have a sweater and I have a this and I have a that. And yeah, but now everything is at that point. And if I just had a little sock sitting somewhere in a project bag, it just waits. It doesn't get cranky. Like, why would I not just defensively cast on? I mean,
true. You are the one in control of your knitting.
Yeah. So I better be a better boss of my knitting.
Yeah.
Or concierge or something.
Yeah. I am also working on a sock. Another one. This one, just before we started recording, I cast on sock 2. So this is definitely not something I can stealth knit right now. But here is sock 1. I got it to the toe and stopped. So this is more of that same yarn club from FireWeed Fibre Company.
FireWeed, yeah.
FireWeed, yeah. This is the Celestial Temple. So yeah, same basic construction, German twisted cast on, 20 rows, stockinette, contrasty toe and heels. I'm still doing a square toe, or a square heel. And I'm really liking the way it fits. So yeah, this one's I just need to Kitchener it. And this one, partly I wanted to get it to this point because I have an all-day in-person work meeting on Friday. And it's also my last day at my job. So I'm going to definitely bring knitting and just knit through presentations because it will help me concentrate.
Because it's your last day, and so you don't actually need to retain any of the information.
Well, no, but like it'll also help me pay more better attention, right? Like,
yes, because
I gave my notice 2 weeks ago already, and I've got a full week left, and so I'm very much in that place of like, I'm invested because I've helped build some pretty cool things in my current job, and like I've hired my 2 coworkers, and I'm trying to like leave everything, so everybody can have as much success as possible after I leave, but also like everything they're talking about is happening after I'm gone. So I'm just kind of like half checked out. So having stealth knitting would be good, but then I'm going to get this one to the cuff and then I'm going to stop so that I can just do stockinette for that work day. Not everyone has it on the go all the time, but I think more and more people do these days. And I agree, this speckle blue is like, there is some real, it's hard to get this to focus. It's not going to. No, but there's some real depth of color in here. Like there's this purple that goes into fuchsia, that goes into white. Over here, you can, like, it's got so many wonderful colors to it that it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I just really like it. And it's funny that you did that because I could also show what I cast on right before we podcast. I'm a tiny bit farther than you, but not by much.
What yarn is that?
So it's yarn that looks like this when it's knit up because I have the first sock finished.
Oh, nice. I like that pattern.
So is this one of those? Yeah, it's one of those Regia ones. So it's Polar Morn. They actually named this one. And neither Reiner nor I can remember purchasing it. But it's all in. No, it's not even all in German. We have no idea where we got this. So
mostly wool,
anyways,
as Regia.
Yeah. Lots of places do. So anyways, it could be we bought it in Germany. It could be we bought it in Canada. And it's a very, I don't know how to describe this, dude color appropriate, which is not very Reiner appropriate. He would like things to be bang pow. But anyways, I have it and I cast on. We were talking on the audio podcast about how I needed emergency knitting and I needed something that was already stained up. And so this, obviously, being a commercial yarn,
like that. Yeah.
And it's funny, I was like, you were like, how many do you have left? Like, is it do we need to worry about your sock knitting collection? Because not only do you need to have emergency knitting already cast on,
You
right?
need to have emergency
yarn already wound, and we were getting worried. And then I remembered, oh wait, I don't know how many balls of Felici I have, but I think I'm probably okay for emergencies for a little while. So yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good there.
Good.
Yeah, and I mean, Regia is interesting to knit with in that it is a workhorse yarn that is quite, for the yarns I'm currently knitting with, is pretty rough. It's not the roughest of the workhorse yarns out there. I think opal for me, I've actually like, because of the way I wind my yarn, I've like kind of cut the side of my fingernail and whatever. So I don't adore working with it. I also find it really twists up a lot the way I knit. Like I have, like this is a sock I'm often dangling somewhere, right? And it untwists. But man, we wear these socks twice as long as we wear other socks. They just go and go and go, and they are incredible. And I find it really interesting how they have this ability to do unpredictable stripes that still look good, because like that is not really a pattern.
It looks like a pattern
it's
to
long.
me.
Like it's a long pattern, so I think there's like thick, sorry about all this, thick blue followed by little bits of stripe followed by thick blue, but it's so long that like by the time you think, oh, I think there is a pattern, you're like almost on the sock. And so I just cast on. I did not attempt to color match this at all. That's not happening. It's very subtle as well. And Reiner really does not care if his socks don't match the stripes, even with like really bold, very distinct. It doesn't bother him. It's starting to bother me more, which surprises me because it used to be something that didn't bother me. But now I'm starting to be like, it's worth pulling that extra bit to get to the same spot.
I'm starting to do it too. I did it. I got, because I grabbed them because of the earrings. I did that with these, the Paradise Alpha.
I did not
lined
with
them up as much as possible. What?
My Paradise Alpha were not something I color matched, and I regret it. So obviously I'm gonna have to have a second skein.
Well, clearly. And when you do buy them, I'm sure you're gonna buy like 3 or 4 just so you've got some in stash for whatever other inspiration strikes, right?
Yeah. I mean, in addition to having emergency skeins already wound up, you also have to have emergency knitting already cast on, but you also have to have emergency Alpha Paradise or Paradise Alpha.
Yeah, very true. Jennifer's comment about great color combos reminded me that I should have said that these contrasting colors came as mini skeins with both of these. And I've got one more yarn in the set. I didn't bring it with me, but it's a little bit more on the darker blue. It's called There's Coffee in That Nebula. And it's blues and purples and really darker than these other ones. And the contrast color is brown. And so I'm not going to use a contrast color because we are not brown fans.
I am a brown fan, but I don't know that I like it with that. Yeah. It's too sharp a contrast. Like it's not a visual contrast. It's like a mood contrast.
If you know what the colorway is, it would make sense, right? But I'm not going to walk around explaining to people, these socks are called There's Coffee in That Nebula. So yeah.
That's the coffee that Janeway wanted because she needs coffee. You know, like that's
yeah. Yes, emergency fiber for spinners, definitely.
Yeah.
I have two more whips.
I have one more, and then I have a future whip that I need to crowdsource information. So
should I share?
Yeah.
So the next thing I'm going to share is a shawl that I cast on for my birthday last month. And I clearly forgot that we were doing this today because I am mid-row, so I can't really show you a lot of it. But this is the, help me out here, Sarah, Shortest Day shawl.
Yep.
So I'm going to see if I can find the thing I want to showcase, which is easier to do if I'm not holding it up while I'm doing that. So it has this nice kind of bigger chevron here in the middle. And then it angles out from there. So this is repeated twice. It is a top-down triangular shawl. It is done in worsted yarn on big needles. These are huge compared to the usual tiny stuff that I work on. It's US 7 or 4.5 millimeter. And I am very close to doing the final border. And then it calls for tassels, the tassel at all 3 corners. And I'm very excited about all of that. So
What's the yarn?
Barocco Ultra Wool.
Color?
3364.
Ah, my favorite blue. Beloved by Monet and Picasso.
Yeah, so I'm really, really enjoying it. If you look here, you can see how the stockinette is decreasing and the reverse stockinette is increasing. Once I get to the transition point where I would be going the other direction, that's where I'll start the border.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah, and it's great. I'm really enjoying working on it. It has all the stitch markers. Between this and my the sweater that I'm working on, I'm running low on all of these bulby stitch markers.
Yeah, I'm kind of running low. No, I got a bunch back, but for a while there, I was running really low.
Yeah. I always want to see this sweater.
So this is the Alaska sweater. I am using Farmer's Daughter. I'm using Farmer's Daughter Craggy Tweed, and I can't remember the 2 colors, but they are fantastic. And the Alaska sweater, I'm blanking on the designer's name. She did the Alaska hat and then decided it should also be a sweater. And it's a little bit wavy because the ribbing is knit through the back loop, purl regularly. And so it's a bit snugger. And then of course you need a bind off that's stretchy enough. Yeah. So once it's blocked, I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. But it does, like I took a work in progress picture and it looks a bit scallopy. Yeah. So it's not scallopy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. So it's a top down raglan. And it has very wide floats, which made me very nervous. And I'm pretty sure we talked about this last time, but I found a technique called ladderback jacquard, which apparently comes from machine knitting. It's one of the ways that machine knitters, or actually in the factory, they cope with this sort of thing. And what you do is you do an increase it's an easy increase. Don't worry. I won't get into the details, but you have to pick a spot. Like, so normally you want your floats to be about every 7 stitches would be the most. So I maybe overdid it because, all right. So so on my chart, I actually drew onto the chart where I was going to do those. So I would come along to a place where all of a sudden there was a navy blue stitch on the needle. And I needed to know, is that a navy blue stitch that I am supposed to pay attention to because there's pattern around it? Or is that just a navy blue stitch that I knit in navy blue and move on because I'm in this big gappy bit? So I put a stitch marker, like I had the ones for the repeat, and then I had stitch markers beside every point of a different kind, like a different texture. So it was like, oh, well, this is a dangly one, therefore it's this. And if this is a smooth one, therefore it's that, sort of a deal. And then you just knit it when you come to it. So you've created a stitch up here, because I was doing top down. You create a stitch, and then every time you come to it, you just knit it, and it forms this material like a ladder.
Yeah.
Behind the thing, and it actually opens up a bit, right? Because there's nothing beside it. So that's why I'm thinking I actually did it too frequently. I didn't necessarily need to do like every 5 stitches, like, because I was trying to figure out how do I divide this evenly. It's a little tricky, but I did that, and I love it. It worked so well. My problem is that when I catch my floats the traditional way, it always pops through a bit, which I mean probably wouldn't be a problem with Tweedy yarn, but it does also create a bit of a texture thing for me. So I'm on the first sleeve, and I'm almost done the decreases and ready to start. There's a little tree pattern that goes on the cup. And
Love it.
then again, like a dark cuff. And I just adore this. This is so much my vibe right now. I also enjoy that while I worked really hard to actually follow the color work pattern here, you know what? If I made a mistake, not only can I not tell, like I don't even know that the designer could tell unless we're going stitch by stitch, because between the tweed and the all over speckle to create like a tree silhouette, but also a see-through silhouette, like there's a lot of give there for just like, meh, it's probably a tree. Looks like tree to me. She did that right.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm very excited to see it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In person.
Easter knitting party.
Yeah,
I mean, family party.
Board games and knitting. I have one last bit. And this one got into
one quick sec. Judy's saying you bring your other color to the front before knitting the ladder stitch. Yes. So you bring your other color forward so that it creates a ladder, like the running stitch of that yarn is always between the front of the fabric and your jacquard, so that color always has something. You've got like the main color is always between and like the real world and your ladder back. Always make sure to drag that forward. So yeah, so I would bring the brown to the front, knit it, bring it to the back, and that way it was always running ahead of that, in front of that. I'm probably making it sound even worse.
Every time you've explained it,
don't get intimidated.
When you've explained it on the audio podcast, I'm here, like I try to pay attention, and then eventually it kind of just turns into peanut teacher. Because it's one of those things where I need to see it to get what you're talking about.
You're just knitting a stitch with your yarn in a certain position for the other color. I don't want to intimidate people. It was so easy. I was almost laughing. Like I couldn't believe that people don't have a million videos about this and that it's not everywhere. But I think it's becoming everywhere.
It's good. So my last whip is I'm working on the Edgeways sweater, and this is where I've gotten in my own way on this one, partly because I don't always trust my math when it comes to knitting. And I need to do my sleeves next, and because I want my sleeves to be longer than the pattern is written for, I need to math because everything is knit from the bottom up, and I need my stripes to match. Kim Indigo Dragonfly has offered to do my math for me if I just do the measurements. But it's Knit City Montreal this weekend and she's there. So I'm not about to email her right now. But so I am done the back. So the cool thing about the Edgeways sweater is that it has this rogue stripe here across the back. And this is at about the shoulder blades. Here's the arm. So there's the armpit. So there's a rogue stripe there, and then this is the right front. There's a rogue stripe in the right front, but it starts with the gray at the bottom instead of the purple at the bottom like the back. And one of the things that I also love about this pattern is it's got this deep collar. So everything from these stitch markers over is collar. So I'm really excited to block this out and see what it does.
Oh my goodness, no kidding. You are running out of stitch markers?
Yeah. And I've taken off the body ones too for this one. And then this is the
Liberate.
This is the left front, which doesn't have a rogue stripe. Of everything, this is the only one that doesn't have a rogue stripe. And it starts with purple at the bottom. It is currently flipped up. So there is purple and then this yellow. And then again with this big, beautiful, luscious collar that's just going to kind of just fall wonderfully at my neck. These are, you can actually catch some of the detail in the purple here in this color right now. It's darker than it looks on the camera. It's a nice light, quite dark. Oh no, I'm blanking on the colorways. This is Grouching Oscar Hidden Snuffy. This is Patina Fay. And this is Goldilocks on a Bagel. The purple and the gray are available in their shop. This one was dyed for me, which is kind of cool because I did, I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a particular option when you order one of her kits. Surprise me, you can pick surprise me and just tell them what you're interested in, and then they just make it for you.
And mail it to you without okaying it, right?
Yeah, that was a surprise. I expected a bit more consultation. But yeah, so this is where I'm at. I've got 2 sleeves left to do. And then I'm also going to do seam pockets at the side. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to do them in the yellow. So where I'm currently stuck in my head on is whether I need to block these before measuring to get the sleeve gauge to send to Kim for sleeve math.
You would measure them, then block them.
Yeah, which will also be interesting because we'll see how the sleeping kitten will do with wet wool. She is not currently, so I've got a new cat. We've had each other for just over a month now. She's interested in yarn. So there's a couple of times where I've had this project bag open with like this parts in it while I'm working on the other part, and she's just gone like head into the corner, front paws. Like I can't tell if she's kneading, but she's super into it, and she's just like snuffling around. Then I stop it before it becomes anything. So, but I'm pretty sure blocked wet wool is going to be a complication. So we'll see how that goes.
When it's daytime, if you have a spare sheet, just throw it over the top and kind of secure it with some books or something. I was going to say a towel and just do it only in the daytime, because in the nighttime you can like lock it away from her, right? But yeah, if you cover it with a bed sheet, you would still, I mean, it will take longer to dry, but
yeah. The interesting thing is the way that my place is, because it's so open concept, I can't lock it away from her, but I can lock her away from it. The office that I'm in right now is where her litter and her food is, so I could just lock her in here overnight and keep her away from it.
Yeah.
Which is actually something that I might do.
Right? You have some fans, so you have fans to blow air, so you could blow air on it and
one thing that Kim suggests doing is for fronts, when you're blocking them, to actually lay one on top of the other and block them together so that they get blocked out exactly the same. So you block the one, you put the wrong sides facing.
Sandwich. Yeah, you sandwich them.
Yeah, so that's what I do. Katie, the colors, I could imagine hearing them described is a little bit interesting, but yeah, they're just, like I say on the audio podcast, you're going to see me coming, but I think that they're really beautiful together. So really excited.
So all I have left is my future project. Are we ready for that?
Yes.
Okay. So my next gnome is the Gnome de Plume to knit for the Year of Gnomes. So here is our spring gnome. I went farthest from my comfort zone with this. This was the first mystery knit along. It was in spring, so we went with some speckles, and these are supposed to be open to interpretation. They can be mushrooms and they can also be flowers, and I wanted to leave it. I've never conclusively said. I said I see mushrooms, but they are not ergo mushrooms. They're both. And then you've got a little flower leaf at the top and a little leafy beard. So these are the colors I have. We've got our 2 grays, our white, and our red. So the white will be the beard.
Why?
Because that is kind of, for most things, my thing, right? And I think for this gnome, I could. So, okay. So then what could we do, right? Is my question here.
So yeah, like I was wondering if you're intentionally doing the white as the beard to be the one thing that kind of was the same throughout all 12 gnomes that you're knitting this year. But I could imagine that if you did the red for the beard and the leaf up top, it would just look so striking. Right? And then you could do the lighter gray up top and the darker gray on the bottom. Maybe you could even do striped arms.
That could be fun. Yeah.
So that the red beard could be a really neat fall leafy color.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, for the most part, that I've done everything about the gnomes using white yarn is because of the way I started these first as an attempt to combat seasonal affective disorder. And so we called them my snow gnomes. And so the first time I knit them, they were going to come up for Christmas and go away at Christmas. And then Christmas was over and I was like,
I'm not ready.
I hate this. So the next year I called them our snow gnomes, and I brought them out with the first big marvelous snow. Sometime probably, I think that year it was November. We didn't have a big October snow. And then they stayed out till the last snow melted in the yard. And so the whole family was kind of like, is this the snow big enough to declare it the first snow? And like, where's the last patch in the yard? And it got us all kind of, and then if I love the gnomes and I call them my snow gnomes. So for me, it's just a big part of it for me, why everything is always just white. It also makes it easier for me for kits and things like that to just say like, this is an easy go-to. Like people can sub in other tones if they want their skin tone to not be literally white. Like I'm not saying these are white people. I'm saying this is like a creature made of frost. So that's why I've done it. And I do like the cohesiveness, because even with my collection, otherwise I've got colors all over the place, but there is always that kind of core, especially visually at the center. So, but this collection, I'm centering it on this. So I could do the beard and the leaf in red.
Yeah. And then, maybe you should do, I said you should do the lighter gray up top, because then you'll still be able to see the detail up there a little bit more.
Yeah. It's not such, like the darker gray is not so dark that you wouldn't be able to, right? But that's why I did this one with the lighter gray, because the more you can see the shadow, the more texture pops.
Yeah. And that'll be the same with that detail and the Gnome de Plume.
Yeah. Okay. People are also, we're getting the red beard would be a neat fall leaf kind of thing. And that's what I was thinking, is that like the red leaf is kind of appropriate. Thematically, as opposed to a gray leaf and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I think that's good. All right, good. That's my next project sorted. There
you go. I need you to send me the link to the sweater that you're wearing today, because as we were talking about on the audio podcast, is I think that it's really great for me to have one worsted weight project on the go to counteract all of the smaller knitting that I do. And I love that sweater.
Yeah.
And so maybe I need to think about what that could be for me. I'm at that stage, right? Like I've got the shawl is almost done, and the sweater is sleeves and seaming. It's not in pockets. It's not going to be an
It's time to start thinking. It is 100% time to start thinking.
Yeah, my brain is starting to think about what could be next. And somebody else posted the Imagined Knitting Cal just wrapped up a couple of days ago, and somebody did a rad vent cardigan inspired by the ones that I've been making, and they use KnitPicks Stroll Tweed, which reminded me that I've been wanting to do a kind of a black one that could go with almost anything. And if I got the Stroll Tweed wellies, which is, do I still have it here? It's a much ignored project. I don't know where it is anymore. But I have done one. It's this beautiful black with the same colors. Grab yours. It's got the same color noops on it. Are they noops?
Neps.
The same color tweedy bit.
There's like a tan, a medium brown, and a very, like, I think it's charcoal.
Yeah, and then white.
I think it's actually kind of a cream or a tan.
Okay, but yeah, so that on black would make it look quite. It'd still be fairly casual, but it could be.
It would be casual. So is that too casual for work?
I don't know about my new workplace. Barb's asked for a link for the sweater in the show notes. It's hard to do links on the YouTubes, but Sarah's got workarounds.
So what I tend to do especially for this podcast is we do the names of everything and leave you to Google rather than links. But I can, if Katie just talks for a moment, I'm going to throw it into chat right now to reward you for showing up and talking to us.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I love the one that you're wearing right now in that white. Like, I agree. I think that color is really quite striking, and KnitPicks is it's affordable even with the exchange rates, right? And so I might get a sweater quantity of that, and then, but you're right, the black might be casual, and I was thinking that if I did it in a plain black, I could wear it with a dress to a fancy event because of the shape of the Radvent cardigan. So maybe I'll see what other kind of plain blacks they have in a fingering weight.
So what I would say, Katie, is first of all, you don't have to start the sweater right now, right? You can get to your work and see. And I think having a very simple black cardigan, it's on my list of things to do in the next 18 months as well.
Are we gonna have another fall charcoal?
Yeah, I think we might need to. Like I might do charcoal rather than a true black, or maybe like a heathered charcoal, which is more formal than tweedy, right? So that's what I'm thinking. And I also like this could also be, there's some really nice pale grays that KnitPicks sells in these, right? So you could go with a really pale silvery color or something like that would also be really neutral, because this is not actually a white, it's undyed, so it's more of a cream. But you're right. I think a light gray, you'd still see all of those details, and I can just imagine it with slacks for work, right? Also with jeans or whatever for not work. So good. All right. Well, thank you for talking to me, Katie, and showing me your knitting. And thank you to everyone who joined us live, and thank you to everyone who watches afterwards. It's great to have a knitting community, and you're a special part of it.
It's very true. Thank you very much. I'm going to finish my tea and paint my bathroom.
You're going to paint.